In October 1968, Superman gave us perhaps the best manual we'll ever receive on how to get laid this Valentine's Day. Welcome to Comic Book Story Time, a series where I tell you a comic book story and I add my own little tidbits in there and we all laugh about how crazy any other time before ours was. Ha 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 ha! Superman used to be a homicidal asshole. Hilarious. This story is from Superman 210, Volume 1. The opening page of this comic gives you a real sense for the asshole Superman was. He's presiding over the funeral of his good friend, Clark Kent, saying he was more than a brother to him. Technically, not a lie, that he shared secrets with him that no one else on Earth knew. Also, technically, not a lie, and that Clark never betrayed him. Yeah, also technically not a lie, but you see where you're kind of being an asshole, right, Superman? He absolutely doesn't. So Superman is just going on and on about his alter ego, talking about how he was a greater hero than they dreamed. He was just laying it on thick, probably because he wanted to see Lois Lane spiral into suicidal depression. That's not even a joke. I bet you real life money that's 1960 Superman's plan. He's even emotionally destroying Jimmy Olsen, who thinks, I thought I was good enough to be Superman's best pal. But don't worry, Superman mentally abused Jimmy in many other ways, much worse than this. So how did we get to the point where Superman decided to just emotionally wreck his friends? Well, we begin the comic earlier with Lois and Clark at the Metropolis County Fair reporting on it. Clark wants to go for a quiet dinner with Lois, but she'd rather work. But then that guy, you know, Rabbit Foot Willie, who is a superstitious heist artist who always consults a fortune teller before he starts a crime, which I don't even know how he hasn't been caught yet. Surely you can plan a police sting. Or Superman gives all the fortune tellers a panic button to call him? And how specific is he with the questions to the fortune teller? Are they helping in crime and potential murder for giving him the good news on his plans? But alas, our questions are not answered due to the fortune teller being closed. That's not enough to stop Clark, because he knows Willie has something big planned. But first, Clark has to ditch Lois. Honest to God, I thought he was going to use his breath to blow the car off the track so Lois would run to report on the deaths. That is how little I've come to expect out of pre-80s Superman. Instead, he uses the exhaust from the ride to create a smoke screen so Lois can breathe it in and get cancer in 20 years. So Clark bails on Lois and honestly probably causes some sort of accident to occur because the operators can't see the control panels for the rides. But Superman has more important things to do besides save innocent people's lives, and he disguises himself as a fortune teller named a Star. He declares that with his fake beard, not even Batman would be able to recognize him. Don't go dragging poor Batman into this shit. He also carves a crystal ball as a prop as he laughs hysterically, which really makes me wonder how much sexual pleasure he gets out of capturing criminals and beating the ever-loving shit out of them. Clark gets the criminal to enter the tent and uses his crystal ball and heat vision to hypnotize him. So this panel negates what I said earlier. I guess the guy asks vague questions. Still though, he's been in the slammer. They should have a photo of him to show fortune tellers. So he asks about the business meeting and how it will go, and he tells him it'll go great. Commit the crime, nothing bad will happen. And you know, if you want to, slit a few little babies' throats. I don't give a fuck. I'm pre-80 Superman. Somehow from the guy's questions, Superman has guessed the criminal's target, the Carousel and the Clouds restaurant's vault. Lois sees the man and Jesus Christ, does everyone know about his thing with seeing the fortune tellers beforehand? Why hasn't this guy been caught yet? Okay, Willie yells to his heistman, because that's what you want to do when robbing a place, to go to the self-service elevator and take it up to the top to crack the vault. Lois, of course, hears this and goes to get the police. Just as the crooks are preparing to crack the vault, Superman appears and tells them to confess. They refuse, so he settles for giving them brain damage. I'm more than sure he also destroyed a lot of dishes by spinning that restaurant around, but let's be honest. When has Superman ever given a fuck about property damage? The crooks give up and Superman gives them to the police that Lois brought, and everyone lived happily ever after. Except for the crooks. They were vegetables for life. Unfortunately, Willie has gotten away, but Superman promises to get him. But Lois fears the man will instead try to get revenge on the fortune teller who predicted the heist wrong. Which puts the story in a whole darker light. How many fortune tellers has Willie killed who didn't get his heist right? That's dark. Superman has the same idea and goes back to pretending to be the fortune teller. And Willie throws a fucking grenade at him. Like, fuck, dude. Just blow his brains out. Don't waste a perfectly good grenade. Superman swallows the grenade to save Lois and then tells Willie the most laughable thing ever. Normally, I shun violence. Lois is loving seeing the man get the shit beaten out of him by a star, and Superman laughs about how Clark can't get to first base with Lois, but she wants a star. He even wonders if his star identity turns her on, which is really weird when you think about it. She takes a photo of a star, and we later see at the Daily Planet, Lois is just mooning over his photo. Clark asks her to lunch, but Lois states she's going to see Dr. Astar again. Oh, you made yourself a doctor. Fuck you, Superman. She meets with Astar, and during their meeting, Lois says some not nice things about Clark, and Superman decides, fuck it, time to mess with this bitch, and tells her Clark will commit suicide the next day at 10 a.m. The next day, Lois, Jimmy, and Clark all go on a boat for a story. While Lois, of course, torments him, that goes by a cliff. Clark decides that this is a better spot than his first pick for the stunt and jumps overboard, pretending like he's drowning, and goes over the cliff. This maniac then laughs that Clark Kent is as good as a memory now. What a spectacular exit. Jimmy uses his watch to call Superman, and Superman puts on a whole production about trying to find Clark in the water. But in the end, he only finds his hat, jacket, and watch. Oh, and one more thing, a suicide note that he wrote ahead of time to find. This plunges Lois into depression, thinking of all the times she was mean to poor Clark. Because fuck her for not being attracted to a spineless wimp. So what is Superman's response to Lois crying about the friend she lost? Well, he's gonna make it all about him like the selfish piece of shit he is. Superman goes on and on about Clark being his best friend, so Lois has even more guilt. This is how Superman spends his time. He could be saving an orphanage from a fire, he could be stopping some bank robbers, but you know what's more fun? Writing fake suicide notes, pretending to kill your alter ego, and fucking up your friends. Then Superman goes to rescue people, happily knowing he mentally scarred another human being. But he's not done. He then visits Lois at work in his Astar identity. He hypnotizes her to see what he wants her to see, and we see that Perry and Jimmy are taking Clark's death hard. But hey, Clark kept his will in his desk that states he wants a small funeral with only his close friends present. Superman to speak the eulogy, and then his ashes scattered in space. At the funeral, Superman continues to guilt trip the fuck out of Lois until the funeral is over. Here's the messed up thing. I know. Superman decides to stay in that alter ego to try to sleep with Lois. He's using Clark's death and Superman guilting her of only wanting to be a superhero to get her to spread her legs. Jesus Christ, Superman. Not everything goes according to plan though, and one day when he takes Lois home to possibly get what he's always wanted, he sees a photo of Clark and flowers, which just pisses him off. He got rid of his alter ego so he could fuck Lois Lane, which is just so screwed up on so many levels. Can't get the girl one way, let's pretend to be someone we're not. Oh wait, that's how real life dating works. Lois wants to know about their future together, so Astar uses his crystal to hypnotize her again and declares a man will come between them, and tomorrow, Clark returns. He then shatters the orb with his heat vision and declares it is an omen and that they have no future together. Astar leaves, and the next day, Clark shows up and Lois in joy kisses him all over. Clark tells her, like the pathological liar he is, that Aquaman rescued him. Lois finally agrees to date Clark. Moral of the story, if you can't get that girl you like to fuck you, fake your own death, have your other identity guilt her, have another identity seduce her, and then break up with her, and then return from the dead. Or you can try not being such a psycho asshole, you prick. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you like the video, come back for more Valentine's Day themed-ish videos for the first 14 days of this month, which is February, if you're not watching this in February. Also, I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't tell Superman about this video. I'm pretty sure he knows where I live.